Will the Economic Development Subcommittee please come to order? This meeting was brought here as a request to a former colleague. I just want to let everyone know the chairman of this will be myself as chair, Councilor Rigo, Councilor Giannino, Correggio, Ganasso, and Zabuto. So what we're here for tonight is the Boston Globe article that basically indicated we're not getting a fair share as far as the revenue dispute. There's a number of articles, the revenue estimate is disputed by the Boston Globe, etc., but I'd rather have my colleagues address it if they care to address it. Anyone like to address it? Councilor Rigo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think the Globe report that came out obviously touched on an issue that I had when we last spoke about the HTA, and I think it would be helpful to have some conversation about what our analysis says or what the city's done to look at how feasible these numbers are. I've asked for some information that I know would take a long time to get, but it would be my hope that we could have a lot of clear understanding and transparency in where we get to these numbers. I know that there have been reports that have showed everything from 500 to $1 billion. Again, I said that I thought $1 billion would be a little far-fetched, but I'd like to just get an understanding of where the city and where we thought these projections would come from, and what information do we use to get to that point of analysis. So again, I think it'd be helpful for all residents. This is an issue that will affect generations of the city, and a vote that we're going to take in less than 2 months could decide the fate for the city for at least 15 years at a minimum, up to who knows, generations. So this is an important vote, obviously, for the city. And this is an important subject that we should have. Everybody should be an educated voter, and everybody should have a full understanding of what's feasible and what is realistic as far as what we're going to get as a city. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Correggio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I read the Globe article, and a lot of it, to me, is inaccurate, because the main thing is what I understand, the city's going to be receiving $9 million a year, and possibly more. It all depends how they operate. And there's a lot of things in the package as far as that what the Globe didn't say about public safety, whether it be education, more police officers. So I really think the city is in a good position. Suffolk Downs has been, as you well know, a good neighbor for many, many years in the city of Revere. They've, donated to a lot of organizations. They paid taxes, especially in the stable area. They hire firefighters as details in the barn area. So they're a good neighbor, and there's already gambling going on. There's horse racing. And Revere is an ideal location. I think it's a win-win for the city of Revere, and I think we should work with everybody and try to come to one common goal. Thank you.
Councilor Ganasso.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. When we were given the discussion, and it was shown to us the minimums that we'd be receiving every year, and this is the minimum. This is etched in stone. This is the minimum we're going to get. That was doable in itself, based on the most common concern of the citizens of Revere is the traffic impact. So this is twofold. Okay, they never reach the billion-dollar level, never reach it. Obviously, you need the numbers to reach that goal. So we don't have any traffic impact to worry about. But we, in the writing of the language of the host agreement, protected our city. Not we as a council, but the way it was written by the staff that was hired by the mayor and his administration. They put safeguards in there for the citizens of Revere. You can take any proposal made by any human being and tear it apart. The easiest job in the world is to be a critic. And for those who are critics of a situation that they know nothing about, that's kind of because we're getting this data put in black and white in the Boston Globe by an individual who got his impacts from different sources, very highly recommended sources, but still on a different level. Suffolk Downs site has been gaming for 77 years, and I think the populace that surrounds the site is a gaming area, highly gaming area. And I beg to differ with people that suggest that this is going to elevate crime, it's going to create activity that's we won't be able to walk down the streets. That's ludicrous. That's absolutely insane. This is not going to happen. It's not going to happen. If crime is going to happen, it's going to happen now, without the gaming. I don't think this is going to bring bad element to our community. So I think that the only thing they can differ on it and make a little argument for is the $1 billion max. I think that's a high level, but it's just showing projections. It's just leading up to that there's potential for that. I would not be surprised if we don't reach that in a very few years. I would not be surprised. I honestly believe that is the classic spot for a gaming institution. That an international airport, a wonderful beachfront, a rapid transit right at its back door. What else can you ask for? I mean, you've got all the natural ingredients. There isn't any gaming institution that I know of that has all those elements surrounding it that lead to bringing customers into a location. I just think this is a given. This is a great spot, and I think we do have the potential. If it isn't $1 billion, it might be $850 million. That's nothing to sneeze at. I mean, so these critics that are saying, well, we're never going to make $1 billion. Okay, we might, but 900,000 isn't too bad either. 900 million is not too bad, is it? So, Mr. Chairman, I'm not concerned about that because I read the Boston Globe quite a bit, and more often than not lately, I'm starting to think that the Herald makes more sense. And so I'm just concerned that, that this false message given to the voters of our community and the voters of East Boston is not fair. And these last-minute blurbs that they put in, that there's outside interests that don't want this to happen at Suffolk Downs. That's always behind-the-scenes activity that takes place in this type. There's a lot of money at stake here. And so with a lot of money at stake, a lot of crazy things happen. And so I hope that the people, I'm asking the people of Revere to give this project faith, give this project an opportunity to make their lifestyles a lot nicer. And that's all I can ask for. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Council Ganasso. Council President Ivan Novoselsky.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Excuse me. Council Granasso said a mouthful, and I agree with him. And the main thing that he talked about was projections. Projections in a situation like this are like us doing a budget. We project what our income is, we project what our expenses are, and we work from there. If we don't make our income projections, we're going to be in a deficit and we have to raise taxes the next year. It's all projections. It's all guesstimates. We hope we can make those numbers. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. In this case, as Councilor Granasso said, if we got 700 million or 750 million, we're still doing well. You have to realize we're going to be getting 4 at the beginning, 4 in another year and a half. Then we're going to be guaranteed 444 and then 9999 forever. How can you go wrong? This is going to go forever. Guaranteed money for nothing that's coming into the city of Revere. Not one piece of construction. We're getting all accessory, but it's being paid for. They're putting in $50 million in traffic mitigation. I've been involved in that since day one with Suffolk Downs in the traffic department and the team. And I think we came up with some good ideas. Almost every part of the city is being taken care of in some way, shape, or manner. We know the goal is to eliminate a major portion of the traffic going through Bell Circle, Mahoney Circle, to have it go around down the Revere Beach Parkway up Route 1. We're working on a 6-lane highway up in Route 1, right after Copeland Circle, right into Saugus. So much is about to happen. It's going to happen simultaneously, hopefully, that we can get the state to do some work up in that Route 1 area. But, you know, I'm very confident about this thing. I said this last week when we took the vote. I urge the people of Revere to vote yes when this referendum comes up on November 5th. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Zavuto.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know we all get excited when we see stuff in the Boston Globe. It's been many years since I gave that paper any credit for anything. But that being said, I think it's completely irrelevant what's in that article to the city of Revere. I have facts in front of me. Now, I've come out publicly in favor of the casino. I don't hide behind maybe I'm for it, maybe I'm not. I don't try to throw bombs at whether or not they're going to make $1 billion. Frankly, I'd like to see Suffolk Downs make $1 billion. I really would, for their sake. But guess what? We're guaranteed $120 million in this agreement. $4.25 million the day they get the license. $4.5 million the next year. $5.5 million the year after that. $5.5 million the year after that. And $9 million every year thereafter, for a total of 15 years. So if they never meet their benchmarks, the city of Revere gets $120 million. That's what I base my vote on. That's why I tell the taxpayers this is a good agreement for the city of Revere. I urge you to vote for this agreement because the mayor and his administration protected the city of Revere with minimum payments, not to mention the $50 million in infrastructure, road repairs, not to mention the monies for new youth centers and monies towards the stadium and all the other mitigation that we've all read all this and we all know that it's good. So what I would say is that I tell the taxpayers and I tell everybody I see, if it's in the supermarket, if it's in the coffee shop, if I'm in the theater, no matter where I am, people ask me about the casino. I'm a cheerleader for this agreement. Why? Because I like the people at Suffolk Downs? No. Because I represent the city of Revere and the taxpayer of Revere. This is good for the future of Revere. That's why I support it. And I urge anybody who does not support it to come out publicly and say that. So that's my little rant here. I apologize if I seem a little passionate about it, but this is good for the city of Revere. That's why I'm for it. I urge my constituents out there to look at this agreement, see all the goodies that are in it. You're going to hear negatives from the anti-casino folks. We all know that. But the bottom line is I represent you, and I'm telling you this is good for you, and that's why I ask you to support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Patch.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was going to come out with all the figures that Councilor Zambuto just came out with. But first of all, I want to mention that I don't even know why we're here. We voted 11-0 in favor of the agreement. I don't get, for the last several years since I retired, I get the Globe and the Herald delivered to me every day. And I found out don't think I ever saw a positive article in the Globe about Suffolk Downs. So I really, over the years, have come to the conclusion that the Globe's a better sports page and the Herald is better for news. I want to say that I'm 100% for the casino at Suffolk Downs. And I make everybody I talk to aware with it. I've met people that are against it, and I try to explain to them that if we don't get the casino at Suffolk Downs, first of all, in a perfect world, I wouldn't be for a casino, but Revere needs revenue. And I just want to say that if we do not get the casino, if the vote doesn't go our way for Suffolk, which I hope it does, but I've met people that are against it, and I just explained to them that if we do not get the casino will probably go to Everett, who the Globe seems to like Everett quite a bit. So if a casino goes to Everett, there's a strong chance that we will be impacted. The only difference is Everett will get the revenues and Revere gets nothing. As the council of Ward 6 that abuts the city of Everett, it is important to me that the city of Revere gets its share of revenues so that we can put more police and firefighters on the street, invest in senior citizen service, and construct a new first-class state-of-the-art youth center, and appropriate money that will help stabilize our property taxes and help lower our water rates. That is why I support a casino at Suffolk Downs and hope all you in Revere will also. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Patch. Mr. Penta.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I agree with Council Patch. Last Monday night, 11 councilors voted in favor of a casino, but a former councilor should have this meeting. Whoever that former councilor is, read the Globe.
Actually, let me correct that. That was not a former councilor. That was a current city councilor.
Oh, I thought you said former. Well, whoever that councilor is did vote on the casino positively, 11-0, so all the more I'm surprised at this. But I'll try to stick to the issue of the Globe. And I think Councilor Patch and Councilor Canarso said it. You can read between the lines. It's very simple. There's a lot of money out there to try to deter Suffolk Downs from getting a casino. Why? Because they want it. A lot of money out there. I haven't read one article in the Globe that wasn't positive for Everett and negative for Revere. And I said that 6 months ago. And it just proves me right week after week after week, the articles I read in there. So I'm going to discredit anything I read in the Globe with facts and figures. But I will go on something that I was at personally. When they had the joint committee of the Senate and the House of Representatives, several of us went there to testify before they even passed the gambling bill. And before I spoke, there's an economist there that gave his credentials. He sounded pretty credible to me, and basically said there was $3 billion untapped money for new casinos throughout Massachusetts. And he went on to state why and where that money would come from. A lot of people, and without hurting the lottery, because lottery players, a lot of them tend to bet, the scratch tickets do not play table games or anything else. But $3 billion, if we did $1 billion, we would do phenomenal. If we did $500 million, and one of the councilors spoke here tonight used Las Vegas for an example of they only do $500 million. Well, I actually went on the internet and there's 74 casinos in Las Vegas. So if they all did $500 million, it's 34 billion, whatever it is, but a lot of money. But that being said, we forget why this was passed through the state legislature. One biggest issue when I heard it was jobs. No one mentions that. That's over and above the mitigation money we get. Councilor Sambudo said 126, I think 120, it's 126 million minimum. Bare minimum would get if they don't reach their goals. So I would think optimistically we should hope that they do $1 billion. If they don't, they're not going to do as good, and we're not going to do as good. But let me put it this way, and this from an older woman yesterday at a coffee shop, or Saturday at a coffee shop, basically said it, and I've been saying it, and I don't hear it that often. God forbid we don't get it. The alternative is scary. And that scares me too. Council Pat said if it goes to Everett, we got every negative impact of a casino, just like it was at Suffolk Downs. But one big factor, zero mitigation, zero traffic repairs, zero public safety, zero mitigation dollars, and all the same problems of a casino went there. So I cannot see, and that's one of the reasons I said all in for the casino, is I'm afraid of the alternative. And I can understand people that are opposed to this for whatever reason they may, and they have that right. But even they, and there's several of them, several friends I grew up with, have their reasons they're against it. And they all turned and said the same thing. I never really thought of the alternative. You bring a good point up. The alternative scares me. I'm probably going to vote for this. And these are people that were 100% against it. But and it's not a threat. The track closes down. Who knows what Boston puts there? I mean, it could be something wonderful. I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. It also could be low-income apartments with traffic, with everything, with everything that possibly a casino could bring without the mitigation. But I don't know why we're up here a week after we voted 11-0 on something, on an article from the Boston Globe, that if anybody read that for the past 6 months to a year, seems to me like, and it's the same writer that actually writes all these stories. So it's not a different writer writes a different opinion. It's just go to the Globe, go in the archives and read them, and you see how positive they are for Everett, negative here. All I'm saying is I've lived in Revere all my life. I'm looking to live here the rest of my life, and I'm for the casino. And I think any negativity towards it, if you're against it, come out and say it. But just think of the alternative, because the alternative really scares me. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll leave it at that. But I got my fingers crossed that this will pass. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Councilor Reardon?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As to the Boston Globe article, I did read it as well, and I think the main thrust of it, and if you ask why are we here, well, we're here because people read that and they say, well, if the casino doesn't do $1 billion, we're not going to get any money. Well, I think one of the reasons we're here is because this agreement does build in some safeguards, and it doesn't have to be $1 billion. In fact, it doesn't have to be anything for us to get something. I have been a critic of this agreement in the process, not because we made the agreement or because we're making the agreement or because we shouldn't vote on it. I'm in favor of it, frankly. My only criticism is the process and the disparity between what Boston got and what we have. But that's what it is. It is what it is at this point. As to the $1 billion and being upset with the Globe, well, the Globe merely informs everybody that if we were to have a casino that earned $1 billion in a year, it would be the largest, greatest earning casino in the Western Hemisphere. Well, maybe we'll break the threshold. I don't know. It could happen. We have a big difference between a casino in Las Vegas or Atlantic City. This is a standalone facility in a major tourist area, or what we hope will be even a greater major tourist area. And the figures might astound people. I see with some interest that we have another airline, Arab Emirates, bringing people in from the Middle East now on a regular basis to Logan Airport. We have a daily nonstop from Tokyo, which is the gateway to the entire Orient. These things all lend you to believe that, well, maybe it's attainable. Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. But nonetheless, and as has been pointed out repeatedly here tonight, and I won't belabor it, but I have made it a point of mine, the alternative to not agreeing to this would not only be no mitigation, but considerably greater stress on the infrastructures of Revere by way of additional housing at the very least, additional traffic, additional retail areas that are going to bring in more traffic and probably more crime, and no mitigation. That is a huge parcel at Suffolk Downs. I don't think anybody doubts that if this project does not come there, there will not be a racetrack over there in a very short period of time. That area, that is a 1 mile oval. Inside of that is immense developable property, which can only mean bad things for Revere. We are already overly congested. We are crowded. We cannot educate the children we have. Add another 500 or 600 to it, and you won't be able to raise enough taxes to educate them for half a day, never mind a whole day. So for those reasons, the Globe article is of no consequence. It's a mere estimate of projections, and as we know, they could be low, they could be high. There's only one way we're going to find out about it, and that's to march off into the frontier and see what happens. So that's where we're going. We've all voted for it. We know the limitations. We know the upside. We know the downside. The city of Revere, the people should know that too. And but the downside, I will say, is what my greatest fear is, that the downside will be overwhelming. Hopefully the upside will be too. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Giannino.
Thank you. I believe all the other councilors have said a lot that has to do with this issue, and I don't want to be repetitive. But I think that something that's really important is that, our job is to be an accurate representation of the city. So for me to sit up here and be a cheerleader would be wrong, because I am still talking to people in the city and still finding out what they want. Is it my personal belief that this is a good idea? Absolutely. But my personal belief has to be different than my position here. So although that I believe that this is a great idea and I'm terrified of the alternative, it would be wrong for me to sit up here and tell you that I was 110% into this, because the city isn't 110% into this yet, and the city is still asking questions, and I've spoke to residents, and they still have a lot of questions. So although my personal opinion is that I think that this would be really good for us, and I think that the alternative could be horrendous, I haven't come up here and said that I was 110% for or against, because the city is not there yet. And it is my job to represent them, and that is what I am doing, and that is why I have spoke the way I've spoke and said what I've said. So I, again, urge people to ask us questions. You know my personal belief, but you know that I will make a decision that is what I think is best for everyone, and that what everyone wants. And that's all I have to say on this issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. I, for one, are 100% behind the casino. I mean, we look at the negative effect if it goes to East Everett. We get nothing in return. We get nothing. We get all of the aggravation that goes with a casino, traffic, etc. And as Charlie mentioned, he's Ward 6 and Stevens Ward 4, and they abut it. They abut it. And this here, with the mitigation, whether it's 8.5, whether it's 4.2, I mean, the whole realm of the casino will basically benefit us all. And in the long run, it may be, estimates may be somewhat misconstrued as far as what people are talking about, but I think we really have to look at it and look at it objectively. Now, what I'd like to do is, if anyone would like to speak at this point in time. 2 minutes.
There we go. Hello, George Rotondo, 45 Howman Street. Thank you for having me. In 2003, I got criticized by many that are sitting up here today and the ex-mayor for trying to get the Wampanoag Indians to come to Revere and have a casino here. I've read the Globe article, and frankly, like everybody else here, I've heard people as well. This isn't about what's in the Globe article. At the end of the day, this is about educating the people. And the people who are going to vote on this particular package, if they don't hear what's right and what's wrong with this package, how can they make an informed decision? But more importantly, how can you convince them to actually vote for it? Some of the questions I've had asked, how does it affect Chapter 70 money? How does it affect Chapter 90 money? Is there a provision within this agreement that allows a 20% deduction if Suffolk Downs pays early? More importantly, what are the impacts on people's insurance? How is this going to impact their insurance rates? Now, in medicine, when you give someone an operation, you have to give them what's bad and what's good. Well, that's the bad part. What's the good part is what we have to actually emphasize. We're in competition with Everett, Mohegan Sun. They want it just as much as we do, as much as I do. If we do not get a casino in the city of Revere, we have to let people know exactly what's going to happen, how the infrastructure is going to be debilitated, how jobs aren't coming to Revere and they're going to be going to Everett or possibly someplace else. How much money are we going to get to actually provide better equipment for our students in school, my children? How are we going to prepare for the future if Suffolk Downs isn't developed appropriately? And I disagree with Councilor Reardon. I don't believe 500 children will come out of that area. There's 30 acres there of developable land. I think probably close to 1,000, 2,000 children. How do we afford that? We can't afford it now. Dr. Dakin's asking for new schools. We have to educate the people as to what are the pros and cons. And quite frankly, Everett got an 86% vote. I want to see a 100% vote here for it. This is our future. This is my children's future. If there's anybody in this room that doesn't look forward to a brighter future, we need to see it at Suffolk Downs. We need to see it with Caesar's Palace. It can't be in Everett. It can't be anywhere else. It has to be here. Our children depend on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. Members of the council, I thank you for hearing us. I know a couple of councilors had said they're not sure why we're here, and in all honesty, I was a little bit confused why we were being called up here until I was made to understand that it was as a result of an article that appeared in the Boston Globe. And, you know, with all due respect, I think you know we're always here to come up and give you all the information that we have, and I think most of you have been satisfied with the information that we've given you, but if I have to drag my whole team up here every time there's an article in the Globe that somebody gets a little concerned about, I think that's a little bit overboard. I could certainly answer questions down in my office if there was some concern over it. I mean, we're going to see articles after articles after articles, people weighing in with their opinions. And yeah, did they throw out some facts? Yeah, they did. But the facts, you know, you've got to look at apples and apples. And in this case, I think it's pretty much impossible. Boston is among the top 10 tourist towns in the country right now. You know, to compare, like Councilor Penta brought up Las Vegas, and, you know, you want to talk about, you know, people have talked about Foxwoods and Mohegan Sun. In 1 year, Foxwoods and Mohegan Sun combined did well over $1 billion, in fact, close to $1.5 billion. That was down in Ledyard, Connecticut, and surrounding areas down there. So Councilor Penta was right when he talked about The Economist. I happened to be at that hearing, and I testified for the gaming bill. They had estimated $3 billion in gaming revenues that was available in the state of Massachusetts. Well, they're only giving out 3 casino licenses. I mean, simple math, $3 billion into 3, I mean, theoretically, each one should be able to get $1 billion, assuming they grant all 3 licenses. Boston, I have to think, you know, again, none of us here have a crystal ball. Suffolk Downs doesn't have a crystal ball. But, you know, I'd like to think that, you know, out of that $3 billion, they'll certainly get their fair share. Some references were made to the agreement, and I want to thank the council for voting unanimously in support of the agreement. But there was also some negative implications that were made toward it, and not getting our fair share and all this other stuff. You know, again, if you're going to listen to articles in the newspaper, listen to NPR Radio, who was very reputable. NPR said that they thought Revere got a better deal than Boston, based on per capita and what the city was getting. So I guess it depends who you're listening to and what facts that you want to pay attention to. You know, we have been nothing but transparent. You all know that before we ever introduced this to the general public, I had you 2 and 3 at a time in my office to go over the agreement as I promised. Went over, gave you all the time you needed to ask questions. We had our whole team down there. I mean, I'd like to think we had a pretty competent team. We just didn't roll over and play dead on this agreement. It took us a long time. And I'll take this team behind me here any day of the week. I know, and it's only because of the legislation. If I could have, I would have had 25, 30 people at a meeting. It wouldn't have made sense. And so because of that, we assembled our team that we have here along with our 2 attorneys from Merrick O'Connell, who are very, very, very reputable and did a tremendous job. And so I think at the end of the day, if we focus on, if we get off the looking at the glass half empty and start looking at it half full, I think we're all going to be much better served, because it sounds to me like everybody here is in support of the project. And I think you all know that based on consistent data that keeps coming out, reporting very favorable support in our community for this project. So, somebody mentioned that 83 or 87% never, well, yeah, let's shoot for that. But, for us to always be up here trying to defend ourselves and defend Suffolk Downs' estimate is serving nobody. I mean, we're out there, I know all of us here are out there talking to people every day because we have a vote on November 5th. You also have a vote too. You're all up for re-election, and so I know there's other things on your mind other than just the casino, but from our standpoint, this is a very, very important project for the future of our city. $9 million is the bare minimum that we are going to receive. $50 million in roadway improvements. People, just Saturday night I was talking to a couple down on Folsom Street who were opposed to the casino. After I got done talking to them about the improvements that were going to be made and explained the traffic patterns that were going to come out of Suffolk Downs, they said, well, geez, why don't you start telling people that? I'll vote for this now. I didn't know that. Why don't you tell people? And as many times as we've been up here talking about it, it doesn't always register. Not everybody gets local cable, So, sure, we have to do a better job at it. Somebody asked me about tax relief. We did some town hall meetings. They said, what about taxes? No one ever talks about taxes. And I thought to myself, and I think a few of you councilors had mentioned it to me, yeah, you know what, we should be talking about taxes. This is going to go a long way towards stabilizing and even lowering property taxes for people. But we haven't done a good enough job talking about that. We've been talking about, things that we want to do, investment to our senior citizen programs, investment in our youth programs, investment in infrastructure projects across the city. We need a new DPW facility and so on. So we've been talking about all these things that we are excited about going forward on, but not talking enough maybe about some of the things that the general public really should know. The stabilization of taxes, the stabilization, or at least, we talked about buying new water meters, which we need. The useful life of these water meters is already expended. It's gone. So we have to get new water meters. Well, it would be great to have a revenue stream that we could look to that will pay for these water meters as opposed to this Water Sewer Enterprise Fund. That's a water and sewer savings right there of $4 million to the ratepayers. So these are things I think that I need to do a better job talking about. But in all fairness, if every time we're going to see an article come out or a blog or something else that talks about Suffolk Downs' estimates, we're spinning our wheels because they don't know what they're going to do. They're not going to be open for 14 months after the day they get the license. Let's talk about it down the road. We can talk about it after the first full year they're in business. Let's see where their revenue stream is, and then we can talk about it if there's some issues. But there's nothing as a practical matter that we can do right now. I mean, if the purpose of this meeting is to chastise Suffolk Downs for their wrong estimates, or is it to knock the host community agreement? I mean, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be talking about right now. All I know is this project is going to employ hundreds of people in our community, 2,500 construction jobs, 4,000 permanent jobs, meaning hundreds of jobs to Revere residents, $7.5 million of annual local investment in our community. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for our city. This is a transformational moment for our community. So, and I think all of you know that because all of you spoke favorably on it, and you understand that. So, you know, my only suggestion and my only hope is that we're going to work together as a team on this. This isn't our team here only and you're another team. We're all on the same team in this. You know, and we need to get out and educate our residents about why this is a good deal for our community. Okay, so unless there's any questions from specific councilors, oh, and by the way, there were questions. I have got emails about wanting reports and side-by-side matrices of comparisons of agreements. And in all honesty, I really don't have time to prepare all that. If there's public documents that somebody wants, I'm sure that our city solicitor can provide them. Safe to say, we did our due diligence. We did our experts that we hired did transportation studies, and in fact, CDM Smith is here, not necessarily here tonight to talk about transportation, but, they did a full-blown transportation study. We also did peer review with the City of Boston. We did a financial impact study which led to this host community agreement. We did an environmental study. So we've studied our studies. We know that, we prepared for what the impacts would be. And when it comes to crime, I think Councilor Guanasso was talking about crime, and rightfully so. There's not going to be crime. These are going to be regular people with money that visit the casinos. And we're going to have more police presence. You don't think Suffolk Downs wants to make sure that they're going to have a safe environment for their customers? They're going to have their own security, and we're going to have an MOA with the State Police, Boston Police, and Revere Police to ensure the safety of our surrounding area. This city will never be safer than when that casino comes to fruition. We'll have more police presence than people would probably care to see. So, but again, this is all information that we're trying to get out there to the public, and I hope that you all will join me in that. And by the way, any questions, transportation, crime, anything else? I know John Fester wants to say a few words when I sit down because, he has some facts that he wants to share with you also. But any questions you have, we're all here. Our Director of Finance who participate in all those meetings. So we're all here to answer questions, okay?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. John?
Mr. Chairman, members of the council, I've been listening very carefully, and I'm very, very proud of this agreement. The mayor and the economic development team were very aggressive in attaining the numbers that we have. I understand, obviously, the reason probably that we're here tonight is because of the projection issue in the article in the Globe, but as it was stated, not to reiterate that, but they're projections. But we took a very conservative approach in determining our values and our percentages. We looked at it and said, okay, these are their projections. But we also stated, what happens if they're wrong? That's why we built in the criteria of the minimums, as it was stated here tonight. We will get a minimum over the 15-year period of $126.5 million. That's regardless of how well Suffolk Downs does. We feel they're going to do much better than that. We think that it's in a very unique situation, a unique location, and we feel that it's going to progress. We feel that the realistic projection is going to be well over $209 million, and we feel comfortable with that. So we looked at the projections of what Suffolk Downs has stated, and we took that a very conservative approach. And I'm looking forward to educating the people in the city of Revere. I've been doing that on a daily basis now, and it takes a lot of time to educate them on all the criteria within the agreement. But I try to give them the necessary bullet points to educate them so they can make an educated decision. And if they're against it after that point, then I respect that. But many, many times as I've been talking to the people in the city of Revere, once we go through these bullet points and they understand it, they're for this agreement. $126.5 million without a structure being built and with a possibility of a phase 2 development. I think that if you look at that, I think that's a very aggressive agreement financially. It'll put the city of Revere in great shape over the next 15-year period, and I'm very proud of the way the team handled this. And I just, there's a lot of other issues that we can get into, and I'm looking forward to having these meetings with the public and educating them. But I just wanted to state, because we looked at the minimum criteria and we determined this is how we come up with some of the figures. We didn't just look and take their projections as gospel. We looked at it, and then we took a conservative approach, because we wanted to make sure in the next 15-year period, the people in the city of Revere will be better off. And believe me, when this goes through, and if Suffolk gets granted the license, the people in the city of Revere will be better off. Thank you.
Thank you, John. There be no further discussion. We'd like to adjourn this. Oh, Chip. Come on. Sorry about that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Councilors, in some ways, I'm happy to come back as much as you like. It never gets old to hear so much support among your colleagues for our project. But I did want to reiterate a little bit what the mayor said and what Councilor Guanasso said. We are in a competition here for this license, and we face very well-organized opposition with considerable resources and considerable money. So, we may have to be back here again, but I do anticipate this is a hot-button issue. You're going to see a lot of stories in a lot of different media from now until November 5th, but I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody has. I wanted to make a couple of quick points and then move on. We have in the host community agreement with Revere a commitment for $45 million in private investment in local road and infrastructure improvements. Many of those in Revere, specific intersections in Revere with fixes that we worked on for a long time with expert consultants, with the city, with Frank Stringy and his planning department. We have in this agreement 400 jobs for Revere residents, 400 jobs. $7.5 million in spending with Revere businesses, millions in upfront money to help fund much-needed city services and other projects before our project would even open. And as John Festa pointed out and the mayor pointed out, $9 million mandatory minimum. There are mandatory minimums throughout this agreement. And I think it was Councilor Reardon who may have pointed out that that's all with the development happening in the neighboring community, with the development actually being built on the Boston side. And I go back to when we came here. I think I came here about a year ago because there was some erroneous information about whether or not Revere was a host community. And we didn't contort our development to try to keep Revere from sharing the benefits of this. We've been very clear from the beginning that we felt Revere is a host community. It's been our neighbor and host for 78 years, and we were here in good faith then, and we're here in good faith now, and have been from the beginning. The Globe story had some incongruous comparisons, okay? There were several studies done that sized this market. By independent consultants, not our studies, by studies that the state of Massachusetts and the legislature used. Spectrum Gaming placed the proposed development in Tewksbury and sized it at $989 million as the size of the market. So if we're guilty of adding $11 million because we're going to be in Boston and Revere, on a major roadway next to an international airport and have the ability to attract millions of visitors from around the world, then we'll plead guilty. Our projections have always been consistent with other expert analysis. There are other studies as well. Some have sized the market at less than $1 billion. Some have sized the market at more than $1 billion. There's a convenience store across the street that I stopped in before I came here. It sells milk and bread and other things, but we don't compare that convenience store to Market Basket in Chelsea. Okay, they're clearly very, very different. They do the same things, but they're clearly very different things. So yes, at $1 billion, this would be one of the highest grossing gaming facilities in the world. It would be one of the highest grossing gaming facilities in the United States. we're confident in our projections, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Mr. Chairman, I have just one question to the mayor.
Go ahead, Richard.
And basically this is for the public, because I do know the answer to this, but because somebody, I don't know who said it, but somebody said that, a lot of, and I think you said it yourself, Mayor, that a lot of the residents really don't understand the agreement. And people I've talked to don't either. When you start explaining it to them, $7.5 million to businesses. I mean, I didn't know that at first, that's guaranteed minimum that's going to boost our business here, which pays taxes to the city of Revere. So there's a lot in this mitigation that has to be educated to the people. And I know you're going to have some TV spots done. I know you're going to have some town meetings across the city. I just wanted people to know that this is not the end of it about educating. So you are going to have quite a few of those meetings across the city and everything else.
Oh, yes, Councilor. We are absolutely going to be going across the city, different areas, different parts of the city, different major buildings to talk about the project and the host community agreement and the mitigation efforts that were made to mitigate any potential problems that people are fearful about. One of the things that keeps coming up is traffic. And, when you think about Suffolk Downs' estimate of having 10,000 vehicles a day, which somebody might say, wow, 10,000 vehicles. The Square One Mall gets 12,000 vehicles a day. And Suffolk Downs could house 4 Square One malls. So when you put it in that perspective and think about the potential traffic, and by the way, if a Square One mall winds up at Suffolk Downs, they're not going to offer the city $9 million. You know that, Mr. Chairman. They're going to build, you might have them put in some infrastructure in the, water, sewer, or whatever, but nowhere near what we're being promised here by this development. This development has been used for a similar purpose for 78 years. At one time, we had 2 facilities. You had Wonderland Dog Track and Suffolk Downs. You have 25,000 people there on a Saturday at one time. I think people, and rightfully so, nobody likes to sit in traffic at certain peak hours. Traffic is tough. But with the $50 million that Suffolk Downs has planned to put into these road improvements and all the other mitigating factors such as the jobs and investment in the city, we'll never have, let me just say, we'll never have another opportunity like this. And the alternative, which as the alternative as I think about, is not the potential for 4 Square One malls. That's bad enough. But how about if Everett winds up with the casino, and they wind up with millions and millions of dollars and millions of dollars in their local economy, and we're stuck here with nothing? That's the real travesty. And so that's the message we're trying to take around the city. And as I said before I got up here the last time, I hope that all of you will join us as partners in this. And as we traverse the city and talk to people, that you'll join us, because you people are elected by the people. People trust your judgment. They, I know Councilor Giannino had mentioned that, she's for it, but she wants to hear the people, which is great. We want to hear the people too. And at the end of the day, they're going to vote, and they're going to have that opportunity. But people elected you because they trust you. And, it's up to you. I know you're a strong supporter of the project. We've got to start talking about why it's important for them to vote favorably for this and what it means to our community. So I thank you for that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This will conclude the subcommittee meeting.